here's what we're going to be making today. This cute little frame, which will open up. Kia ora e te whānau. Well, I have an idea, and if you're seeing this video, obviously it worked. I've never done this before, so hopefully it turns out, and if so, I would have put a finished result on the front of the video that you would have just seen. So this is my measurements. Now, my Christmas journal is quite square, so I haven't really, you don't need to pay attention to these measurements because it's completely going to depend on the size of your journal page as to what size you make the windows, etc. But I have written the measurements on here just in case. So these windows, I've done it in inches and centimeters. I did it in centimeters, which is why the inches are so weird. So the gap between the windows is going to be 3/8 of an inch. The windows themselves are 2 3/16 by 2 15/16, and the gap on the side is 1 3/16. In centimetres, much easier translation for me, we've got 1.5 down here, we've got 1 centimetre up here, 1 centimetre between the windows, and the windows measure 7.5 by 5.5 centimetres. Now, literally, this is going to be a fun job. I am just going to, because this is that mat board that I always use, so this is how thin it is. It's probably about 1/16 of an inch, or about 1.5 millimeters. You could do it just by layering card together, but then I would glue those layers of card together and then cut through the whole lot when you do your windows, rather than having to do this numerous times. So I will fast forward this part for you because I am literally just going to use my craft knife and cut out each of these windows. There we go, so one done, and I will now go away and do the other 3. Okay, now that that little mission is done, and I did slice a little bit there that I shouldn't have, but well, I was going to glue it back. But you know how windows are sometimes just a little bit wonky, they're never perfect, especially the type that we're trying to make. So I've just decided I'm going to cut that off. Okay, so what you can do if you want to is you can sand those little fluffy bits. I am not going to bother because I know the amount of paint I'm about to put on it. I have just a really middle of the range to low range paints that I'm using. Student Chromacry in burnt umber and Liquitex basic acrylic in black. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a mix of the two, and I'm not going to be very fussy about where each one is going either. The two colours are just going to help create some depth. So I will fast forward this part for you as well. Okay, so just make sure that you turn it and get all of the insides of that frame and all of the outside edges. You don't have to worry about what the back looks like at the moment. It can be as messy as it needs to be. Now, because I want to do, I think, a gilded finish, I need a little bit of texture paste, and I am running out of this because I used a lot of it on my cover, but I don't want it too textured like the cover because it's going inside the journal. So I'm just going to mix it with a little bit of black paint, so it gives it a little bit of body on the top, but it doesn't add too much bulk, because when we gild it we want little raised parts. Now also, because we have carefully on the first layer done those inside bits, we don't need to do any of that with the texture paste. Okay, so the next layer, now that this is dry, is burnt umber, burnt sienna, and just a little bit of yellow. And again, we don't have to be too fussy. It's just to start to make it look a bit more like wood. And I'm not going to necessarily cover all of that black, because I want some of that black to show through as well, because that's going to make it look like it's got depth. See that there? So I'll just finish this part, and I'll keep filming it just so that you can see. Okay, and I've just mixed a little bit of the burnt sienna and a little bit of white, and then I've just, with a really light brush, popped a little bit on some highlights. And now it gives it quite a cool window wood old effect. The next step we need to do is going to be, you could probably use any gold paint. I use a mix of mica powder and gel medium, so I'll just set that up and I'll come back. Okay, so for this step I've just got this cheap version of gel medium, and I use this in Sunset Gold. It's a powder pigment, and I just pop a little bit into the medium, mix it in, and this part I've only ever used with my finger. So I just put a little bit on my finger, and just with the lightest touch, just add some highlights again. I feel like the gold just gives it a little Christmassy touch. But if you liked it before this step, obviously you don't have to do that. And that's about it. Our next step is going to make the snowy acetate window. Okay, so I've just traced a quick little template just with a pen through there so that we've got some idea. And then I'm going to place the acetate over the top just so that I know the border to keep in for these. And all I have used there is some white paint and some white embossing powder. And I originally did wonder whether or not the heat gun was going to warp the acetate, but I was careful and it hasn't seemed to, so we should be okay. So I'll just pop that back where it was, and this will be quite hard to see what I'm doing because it's on a white background, but I will do our best. Did a little bit of experimentation. The sponge, no, did not work, so I'll just put a bit of white paint there. If you've got a stippling brush, that's a really dry, bristly brush, it would be better. I don't have one of those, so I'm just using this and just with the smallest amount on the brush. I am just doing the corners and a little bit down the bottom. If I pull that out of there, that's first layer. Now that I know where I'm going, I can fill these little bits in. Doesn't matter if you go a little bit outside the edges, just as long as you reach the corners of the windows. And then all I did with this was I actually just sprinkled it on in places. It gives a nice bright white, and a couple of little bits on the window. And then I will just dry that with the heat gun, and then I will do the other two. So I'll pop back once I've done that. Okay, we are getting somewhere. So now all I'm going to do is, and I won't leave you here to watch, I have inked around here. I have also made a template for the back, and I would recommend doing this before you start painting it. And once you've cut out that first part and it's white, just do a quick trace so that you've got a template for the inside. If you're wondering why this part here is long, it's because I am going to bend that in, and that's going to be our hinge for the window. So I am just going to literally cover this with double-sided tape and stick this guy on. We also need to put the little magnetic closure on as well. So I'll just grab that. Okay, before we do any of that, I'm just going to put the little, where do we want it? So this is just a little brad, and I've rusted it quite a while ago. And I think those ones were from AliExpress. And yeah, I think just about there will be good. So we'll just pop that one through. It's got nice long legs. And I'll just get some pliers just to squeeze that slightly flat. And that will be covered by the paper as well. So there's our little door handle. Okay, and the magnet that I was talking about, so I've used these previously, but when I went to order some more, they had different sizes, and these are way better because they're so much thinner. So they are called focus camera, magnetic button clasps, and these ones are nice and small and hide better in our journals, and they still come with the little discs that will help keep it there as well. So we're going to need one on our actual page and one on the door. So the one on the door needs to go through here before we start sticking anything together. It does not really matter which side you use first. So I will just grab one, because either way it's going to make them sit up. And if you remember, if you watched the last video, so this is going to be sitting on here, and I just want to make sure, I might actually do the clasp up a little bit higher, just so that it doesn't interfere with those brad legs and have two layers of metal that I've got to glue or use double-sided tape around. So I want this just slightly above, and I'm just going to use those little marks to trace through. And you could use two, you could do one top and bottom if you want to, but I don't think it needs it. And we've just got to cut that little bit out. Not as much. I think I should just get away with making the two slits this time. And we just find our two slits and put those little legs through there like that. Then put our little metal disc on and squish those down. You can see that tiny little bit there. Wonder if I can chop him off. If you had have turned it the opposite direction, so that instead of the little legs being horizontal, they were vertical, you would not have this issue. But if you do have this issue, you can cut them off, we have just discovered. Okay, so now I just need to do some double-sided taping, so I will pop back. Okay, so I don't know if you can kind of see that, double-sided taped all around the outside and through the middle as well. This is really just for the acetate, because I'll use a little bit of extra glue, and where the acetate is I will also add some more double-sided tape. So now we just have to place this on. Now, because I'm going to be sticking this onto here, I am going to reapply the double-sided tape onto the acetate, and then I'm also going to glue the parts that don't have any double-sided tape. So, for example, here I've got acetate and a little bit of leftover double-sided tape, but I want this backing plate to stick right up to the edge here. So, for example, I will reapply like that, and then this part I will glue. Okay, now I am just going to apply the glue where the double-sided tape is not, and just a little bit more around the very edge as well. Now the hard part. Okay, and the last thing we need to do, I'm just going to take my awl and bring it down there so that we can fold that in, and you know me, I shall ink that. And then now we have our door, and now we are back to our white paint, because snow doesn't just sit on the window pane itself, and we're just going to extend on each one. And then I am going to put a little bit of modelling paste in there as well, so I'll just do this one and show you. And then I will do the other 4. You could skip this bit, you don't have to do this bit. This is just me being fanatical me. There we go. Probably can't even notice the difference. So it's probably completely unnecessary, but it's something I'm going to do. Okay, my lovelies, last step. We've got to get the other part of the little magnet onto the page. This is the page I'm going to be putting it onto, and I did make it specifically for this so that you would see the Christmas scene through it. So all I've done is I made, out of the same thin mat board, a little writing space, and I've just decorated each corner. This is just washi tape. That's a washi tape sticker. This is printed from my printer, just on washi tape sticker, and those are just some labels that I got off Etsy. And up here, just a little label, ripped piece of paper, and I've put it onto ledger paper. And on the back, all I've done is rip a corner of, and this piece here, of the same paper that I chose to line the inside of the window with, and made a little pocket by wrapping it around and up, and then making sure that I gave a little bit more room so that it fits in there nice and easy like that. And I just made sure by placing this over like this that I had it in the right spot before I glued it down. Now, putting the other little magnet on here in the right place can be a bit of a nightmare. So what I find easier to do is put it onto a tab, a folded piece of card, because then I'll show you. Showing you will be easier than explaining it. Now this one we are going to do the little prongs up, so I don't have the same problem that I had the last time, because that was a bit of a nightmare. So just same thing, trace through, grab the craft knife, get ourselves 2 little slits in the right place. Pop that through there. Pop your little disc on. And grab something like a screwdriver. Now the reason why I go outwards, these things didn't come with an instruction, manual, but the reason why I go outwards is because if you go inwards they're going to overlap slightly, which is going to be 2 layers of metal. So the reason why I've done that is because now you can just pop that on there and we can glue, we can pop that in place where we want it, and then we can push the glue together. But also because it's going to make it easier to open, you can grab this one and pull that one open. Okay, third reason, it strengthens this even more because it's got the thicker card again on it. So that's all we're going to do now. Is hope you really enjoyed this and that it was something a little bit different. We don't have snowy white Christmases in New Zealand. We have summer, hot beaches, high temperatures and jingles because we're over here down the bottom of the southern hemisphere, and our summers, if we're lucky, we'll get up to our highest probably 32 degrees Celsius. Please don't ask me what that is in Fahrenheit because I don't know. So pretty mild summers, not too bad. Australia gets really, really hot temperatures. So just going to pop that exactly where we want it. We're going to turn and make him. There we go. I'll just open that. And all we have to do after that is glue this guy down. Very similar, and that's why I've left that till last as well. And I may or may not. Ooh, somebody, I can't remember. Oh, what was your name? You told me to get one of these. Well, just so that you know, even though I can't remember your name, thank you. And I did what you said. I got a glue rubber so that I would save my fingertips. Because I get glue everywhere. Might just clip that just for a little while and I'll come back. Now, not only does this solve our problem of where to place it, it also solves our problem of being able to see the workings of the prongs on the other side. So, highly recommend. It doesn't have to be a tab, it could just be a little circle that you have made out of scrapbook paper, or you make it into a little bit of a cluster and you put the little magnetic button half through the circle and then stick it on like a little cluster. But it definitely makes life a lot easier. So now we are just going to glue this guy. And this edge here is the most important one that we need to make sure that we glue and that it stays down nice and flat. Then we are going to clip him onto there. Make sure he is straight. Open him up and just make sure that that's all sitting down nicely. Wonder if and I could stick it into something heavy because my clips aren't going to reach there. Well, those ones aren't. So I'm just going to pop it under something heavy for now. Okay, so there you go. We're going to come across a cute little page in our journal that is going to open up to lots of writing space. And I did leave this space here on purpose because otherwise it is going to make it very difficult to sew in, because you know I sew in my signatures after I have made my journal cover. Speaking of journal covers, so she is definitely coming along. She is definitely filling up, and she is going to be a crocodile because you know me, I never usually make my covers first. We've still got some room in there definitely, but by the time she's full she is going to be a crocodile, and I think that's going to be gorgeous. I love crocodile mouth journals. Now because the cover video wasn't a speaking video, this technique that I have done with the colours on these mouldings to get them like that is the exact same technique that I have shown you how to do the frame. So it's going to match quite lovely with the cover. These pieces here, the leaves, the berries and the pine cones, I'm sure you could find moulds for them, but I actually made all of those bits by hand. But these and the frame are all separate moulded pieces that are pre-made. So there we go, we are getting there. What I might do is I might leave her unfinished because there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to do year to year, and I might bring it back out again and show you year to year what I've done on her, and I might finish her off and sew in her signatures. I'm not going to be going through the spine obviously. I'm going to make her a hidden spine, which means she will have another board piece that the signatures are sewn onto, and then that's stuck in. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will give that little window a go. It was something that came to me in the middle of the night, as it usually does. And I thought, oh, I could make a little window that would match, you know, the house and the door, but it would be a sneak peek of inside this house. So yeah, give it a go. It's not as hard as it looks. And I hope you're enjoying my non-daily chaos. Check out on my community posts if you haven't already. There's lots of freebies there that I am using in this journal as well, and still more to come, as well as my days where I do get something done and my days where I don't, because I am not a daily December person as much as I would like to be. Alright my lovelies, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this. Mā te wā, thank you for being here.